show
catch
for
up
you
because
guys.
this guy's back from the
We've
dead.
been out and about and doing stuff, haven't all been together in one place for a very long time. So, unfortunately, we missed reviews of Final Crisis number 7 and Scott Pilgrim number 5.
Yeah.
Those are the two big things that we really missed. You guys have requested it, so we are going to review them for you.
Certainly.
All right, now.
Yeah.
You like that? Final Crisis number 7, let's kick it off.
Well,
So this was a crossover.
Well, it definitely wrapped up.
Yeah, it was the thing with the scrolls.
Oh, yeah. It was good.
No, it definitely. Grant Morrison wrapped up everything he's ever wanted to wrap up in the DC universe that he's ever started in one issue.
Wow.
Was it confusing? Yes, it was.
Well, taking a look at the series as a whole, it's very... He went in such a distance with the story that the beginning seems so far away, and there's very little narrative line throughout the whole thing, so you get kind of lost in the whole thing. And a lot of people are like, you get to think about it, you'll get it. And I'm like, well, it's not a great story if you can't really, if it's not clean. It was muddled, it was all over the place. And he's trying to tell stories about stories to kind of deconstruct superheroes. I mean, we have in Superman Beyond number 2, a Superman robot powered by stories fighting against a vampire overlord.
Who we see in
which
7.
Which is a great idea, but it's not necessarily interesting to read. I think that's the essential problem with the series. You know, and a lot of people, it seemed to divide people pretty much, comic book readers, pretty much right down...
Split humanity.
Foodies.
Yeah.
Foodies. Right down the middle. Into people are like, if you just read it, you'd get it. Like you're saying, I feel like people are very angry and very protective of Grant Morrison.
Yeah.
But
Well, that should be. He's an amazing writer.
he is a fantastic writer, and there's even some great moments
Definitely.
throughout the series, throughout all 7 issues of the series,
Yeah.
that I can think about. But I don't think it holds up as a story.
Yeah, for
Well-
all 7 issues, definitely not.
And especially something where DC pinned their whole line on Final Crisis when it was such a herky-jerky. Like, Final Crisis Revelations was a great series, and it stood by itself, and that's why I think it was good. All these
I think
crossovers.
this is a very pertinent point, and this is something we've talked about quite a bit, is labeling on comics.
Yeah.
I think Final Crisis, if it was released, let's say, sake of argument, it was released as All-Star Crisis, right? No schedule, didn't tie into anything, was just Grant Morrison, DC Universe. I bet we would read it and say, oh, that was wacky, that was cool, that has some good moments. But it wouldn't have the same weight as, what is this tying into? What is this leading up towards? What happens with these characters next? What are they going to remember what just happened?
I feel like regardless, I wanted, because it was Final Crisis and built up, I just felt like I wanted an ending that was like, because it was so crazy in the beginning, I wanted to come together, not in a neat bow because it's Grant Morrison, but at least something where I was like, oh, that was worth the crazy journey that I went on. I just feel like the payoff wasn't there, and I wanted the last issue to at least be like, oh, I'm glad I did this. I'm glad I went along for this journey. And I understand what you're saying about if you put it separate, maybe that would be a little bit more enjoyable. But I just felt like he set it up like all over the place, tied in some other crazy things, and then it was like, and
scene.
And empty white page.
Is this
monitors are
a
over.
total disaster?
Well, let's say, in another way, now that we have some time since it's ended, what has it affected in the DC universe?
Nobody knows yet.
That's
the problem. I heard an interview with Greg Rucka today where he was talking about working with Grant Morrison, and he was very careful about it and saying, you know, it's an honor to work with him, and he's an amazing idea machine, and all of these other things. But he was saying that it's very difficult to follow up on his ideas.
Yeah.
Because he'll be on a phone conversation with him, and Grant Morrison will say, oh, I have this idea, man. This is what I'm going to do with the question, and this is a great idea. And Greg Rucka will say, oh, that's great. That's a great idea with the question. I'll be like, yeah, that's great. All right, let's talk about this other thing. And then I'll be like, wait. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around this other idea. Yeah. And I think that's what this whole series was right. You know, there were a couple of interviews that he did afterwards where he was talking about what he was trying to do was find the next way of telling stories for the DC universe and give it this
confusing and all over the place.
Give it this channel zapping quality, that the same way people watch TV where they flip through channels.
Right.
But I think the problem, and I think the thing that he didn't hook into, is that when people flip through channels, they eventually settle on a channel that they're going to watch.
Right.
And what we instead got, this is what we were talking about across the board, is that instead we got the commercials. We got
Right.
the middle of scenes that didn't make sense, and then we never really settled on a story. So he may actually have the right idea. This may be the future of how to write comics, and bully for him for pushing it forward in that way. But this first experiment did not work.
I like that analogy because it's like when I'm watching TV, a lot of times I'll be watching 3 different shows, and I'm hoping that when I watch one, I can switch, and the other one doesn't have a commercial, and I can get the meat of what's going on. And I feel like it would have been nice to be able to sink my teeth into a couple different ideas and have that follow through, and then at the end being like, all right, the stuff that I liked and enjoyed came to fruition, or at least came to some kind of ending that I felt satisfied.
Right. There was no heart to Final Crisis.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Would you say, is this something that's going to live on in trade editions, or are people going to ignore it and move on?
I think after a few years, I think it's going to be largely ignored. Unlike the first Crisis, where everyone holds it up as this huge moment in DC history, I think this one will be just like Infinite Crisis. Yeah, just like When the Earth Froze. What was that crossover?
I don't know.
Final Night. Just like
Yes.
Final Night, I think people will be moving past this one.
Anytime there's a final, I usually don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, let's, since we're running a little low on time, let's talk about Scott Pilgrim, number 5. What'd you think about this volume?
You wait so long for these, and you read them in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's great to read them.
I mean, Scott Pilgrim is just very enjoyable world. It's a great kind of fun manga-esque. It's great world, and I miss being in it. And then I just kind of tore through it. I don't know. I felt like I wanted more.
This volume in particular actually felt a little light to me. Don't get me wrong, there are some wonderful bits in there. The stuff with Scott fighting robots is hilarious.
All the robots.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Stuff with Kim Pine is great.
And the
There's
parties.
some really good-
I love Kim more than Ramona at this point.
Yes,
Wow.
absolutely, and I think you're supposed to.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's some very good stuff also with Ramona, especially towards the end. But the whole volume feels very cursory. It feels very, we're getting through these plot
Setting
points
up.
so we can get to the last volume. And even now, Brian Lee O'Malley has said, oh man, volume 6 is going to be 82,000 pages long.
Yeah.
Because there's so much stuff that he's fit in there. I'm really, by no means is any negative criticism to say that I have soured on the series.
Yeah.
Because this is still probably one of the best comic series of all time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and in talking to Brian on the show, he said this is the first one where he had a really clear outline that he stuck to, and I think that shows in the writing where it seems the tangents in the earlier volumes, I think, give it its depth and give it
I
its
agree
reach.
with you there.
When this, he's just like, gotta tell the story, gotta get through, and then when you're done, you're like, oh,
This was
done.
much quicker for me than all of the previous volumes, I think.
Yeah.
And it showed a little less of the emotional depth, which was sad.
But
Even though Scott is dealing with the largest emotions he's had to deal with throughout the whole series.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, I love it. It's great. It's very enjoyable. I was just,
We criticize because we love. I think, in
yeah.
particular, this is, when we're talking about it as a negative, it's like, oh man, I give it an A- instead of an A. Which is...
Totally. But I hope that it is 82,000 pages, the volume 6.
Yeah.
That we can really finally see this whole universe on its end.
Totally agreed. All right, so there you go. If you have a question, you can write us at thecomicbookclub@yahoo.com. Comment below, upload your video responses, check out our blog at popcultureshock.com/cbclub. You can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Comic Book Club Live.
We'll be reviewing Secret War, Yellow Kid.
if you're ever in New York City on a Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, we'd love to see the People's Improv Theater.
Some cave paintings we found. Just really getting into the history.
Yeah, I'm going to do my exclusive